Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to Overwatch Central. The main focus of today is Pharah, and around it we have the biggest tag team match in history on the discussion of whether the changes on the PTR are a buff or a nerf. In the blue corner we have Seagull and Valkyria saying that these changes are actually going to make the hero a lot worse. Granted, Valkyria went into more depth on why these changes are negative. He even did a video about this if you want to check that out. And Seagull just kind of said, yeah, it seems like a nerf. And in the blue corner, you of course have Pharah that did a video with us the other day, going over why it actually works out to be a bit of a net buff. But also Daniel, who is a DPS player for Copenhagen Flames and also Team Poland in the World Cup. We'll be going over why each side believes that it's a buff or a nerf, but I also want to hear from you guys in the comments. We also asked on Twitter, did a little bit of a poll, and it actually turned out to be 54% of a viewer base of about 1,500 voted that it was a buff instead of a nerf. So it was still fairly close, not Brexit close, but I think there's really good points on both sides. One thing that I did really want to highlight at the start of this video is what the developers were thinking when it came to these Pharah changes, and we know that because they were posted on the PTR with developer comments. These generally kind of get a bit ignored because people are too excited to try out the changes on the PTR and look at what the changes are that they kind of miss the big bold text. So that's what we're going to be going over first. We wanted to increase how responsive Pharah's rocket launcher felt. Having almost a full second of recovery between shots made it feel sluggish. To balance out the improved recovery time, we shifted some of the damage from the rocket's explosions to the direct impact damage. The overall damage potential is now increased when landing direct hits and decreased slightly when only dealing explosive damage. We reduced the amount of knockback each explosion causes, as they made it very difficult to aim at Pharah while rockets came in at a faster pace. The concussive blast cooldown reduction should allow the ability to sync up more closely with the jump jet cooldown when used for mobility. So Blizzard's main focus was to make the rocket launcher feel less sluggish. So obviously the change was to speed it up somewhat. They must have tried out a lot of different things and come to this conclusion that they want to make those rockets fire faster. However, they didn't like how much damage and knockback it was doing, so they decrease that. The typical Blizzard give with one hand, take with the other. However, one thing that Valkyria highlighted that makes this somewhat of a nerf is the fact that this recovery rate, as he says, isn't going to be used by some Pharah players. Here's the clip.
The reason that I found the rate of fire not as useful as first thought, and this is after playing for a few hours, is that I actually don't really take advantage of the rate of fire on the current live servers either. The reason for this is when you play Pharah, you have to be accurate, and to be accurate, you have to take your time to read the movements of the enemy to see where they're going and what they'll do. There is a mental processing time for this, which already means we're starting to lose the advantage of the rate of fire. If I was just to constantly shoot holding left click, I wouldn't be very accurate and I'd be wasting rockets.
So what he's saying there is essentially the time that it takes for him to aim shots and predict where people are going to go, he's not firing anyway. It's not like Junkrat where you're constantly trying to chunk out loads of damage and throw it in a general direction. With Pharah's aiming, you need to be very precise with where you want to aim your rockets. So you don't really fire out a load at once. It's not Bastion where you're going, it's nothing like that. You need to be predicting shots, kind of like a Widowmaker. It's like increasing Widowmaker's rate of fire. It might be good for some players that just want to chunk in loads of damage, but for those carefully crafted shots, that rate of fire isn't going to make a difference, which I think is a really good point on why this may be a nerf. Now Seagull really just says this seems a bit like a nerf when he's playing with her. It doesn't really go into much depth, but I would recommend watching Valkyria's video on why he thinks these changes are negative in some capacity. Now we go onto the buff side, and I want to start with new information from Daniel. As I said, Daniel is the Team Poland DPS player and also on the Copenhagen Flames, and says that new Pharah on the PTR shoots so fucking fast I can't believe some people think it's a nerf. Can't wait to spam direct hits into some noobs with his fire rate. And I think now new Pharah kinda is meant to be like the Junkrat in the air. It's not about having those aimed shots and being able to predictably take people down. It seems that it's a bit more of a buff in some cases when you're up in the air shooting down on Ghost Comp, for example, as tanky lineups. And also, Daniel commented on the Twitter poll that we did and actually raised another really solid point. It's definitely the buff. The biggest problem of Pharah is D.Va, since she just taps Matrix to eat your rockets or flies into your face to push you back. Body block and or Matrix another few rockets without risking much. Fire rate buff will definitely help with that. After the changes, D.Va shouldn't be able to fly into your face without any fear, since you can literally fuck her up while she does it, excuse the language. Same with tapping Matrix, new fire rate makes it way harder for D.Va I guess just in general. So I think it's a really good point to highlight that this is an indirect nerf to D.Va, because the amount of rockets that she can eat in that situation, you know what I mean, you could just sort of tap at a certain rhythm and just eat all of the rockets up. However, now it's too much damage for D.Va to really completely mitigate. We of course have the video that we did with Pharah, which I would recommend watching, but she does add in the comments of this Twitter poll too, saying it's a step in the right direction towards making her more of a mid-range hero that's less dependent on tanks making space and support. But she still needs something more. Mobility is the answer to that, not more tweaks to her gun or damage. And what Danye and Pharah are saying here is backed by stats. Overall, she does more damage. Crying Cyan actually did a comparison between all sorts of stuff to do with the fire rate, how it compares with live and PTR, how much damage you do in a single shot, how much damage you do per second, the time to kill a 200 HP target. You can find all of this in a description below, and you can sort of see in a general trend that PTR has a lot better standings than the live version. A direct hit shot does 160 damage in comparison to live, which does 133.33 recurring. As somebody went over in the comments, just to sort of wrap it up, there's about a 30% direct DPS increase on the PTR in comparison to live, but the time to kill is slower in situations where you only need that one direct or a couple of direct rockets to kill them. So if you're just firing shots into tank shields like a Reinhardt, or into just a general team that's really clumped up together, you're going to do a lot of damage, much like a Junkrat. You're going to do more damage than you used to. However, when it comes to getting those direct mid-air shots, or getting certain targets that are moving around quite quickly, that's going to be really difficult to do, especially to completely finish them off. But to just sort of get down to brass tacks, is it a buff or a nerf? Generally, and this is the answer to this. You play on the PTR and you tell me. I think this change is very much a what do you see, is this a positive or negative thing? This is based on how people play this hero. That's not to say that people are playing Pharah wrong. Valkyria is one of the people that's saying this is a nerf, and he's got thousands of hours in her. But also so does Pharah and Danye, as well as a DPS player. All of these people in the community have a lot to say about this hero, and I find it incredibly fascinating that even at the highest tiers, they're going, it's a buff or a nerf. Let's face it, it's a change. It doesn't inherently have to be positive or negative. It will take away certain aspects for Pharah, sure, but there might be certain ways that she can be used that might counter Goat's Comp, for example. Being able to do more damage on those big tanky compositions, meaning that you can effectively do what Junkrat's really good at, staying back, firing shots onto quad tank, for example, where the entire enemy team can't get anywhere near you and doesn't have any hit scan to take you out the air. Maybe that's the goal that Blizzard want to do with this, but I really do feel it is one of those changes where she might be a bit better, she might be a little worse. If it's bad, I'm sure that Blizzard will rectify it. And if it's better, sure, but she's not going to be a must pick. This isn't a huge change that we're talking about, but I do find it really interesting to highlight that people are getting so up in arms about this and whether it's a buff or a nerf. So before you really say anything in the comments, if you haven't already, go on a PTR and try her out. See what you think and let me know after this video. Let me know in the comments below, now that you've played her, what you think, buff or nerf. Just type that, buff, nerf. Explain yourself if you want to, that'd be really cool. But thanks for watching, just wanted to share some insight from the community, why people like Valkyria believe that this is a nerf, why people like Danye and Pharah believe it's a buff. Really interesting stuff. Thanks for watching, take care, we'll see you next time.